So finally, the time has come to go ahead and do my very best to showcase the difference this little guy makes. Down there is a Turbosmart wastegate actuator with a 12 PSI spring. If you haven't seen the video of putting it in, you can check it out right there. And this video is to show the differences that that little thing makes on this car without a tune. Not only am I going to be checking performance differences by doing timed tests with the Draggy, I'm also going to do some data logs to see what the car says going on with this part on the car. There's a big misconception that you have to have a tune to run one of these wastegates, and well, I don't think that's the case, but we're definitely going to find out in today's video.
Let's have some fun on Karz Kreated.
Alright, so what we are doing today is we're going to figure out whether that wastegate has added any power or has made the car any quicker. So I'm going to do a series of tests, you know, the normal things I do. So the first test I really want to do, and it's going to be the main test to see if the car is any quicker, is any faster, is I'm going to do the 40 to 80 time test. Using the Draggy, I'm going to see how long it takes the car to get from 40 to 80 mile per hour. I do have runs that I did a couple weeks ago on a separate test, doing the same thing, and that was before I installed the wastegate actuator, so I can compare it then. Now the only thing is, right now the air is a bit nicer than it was that day. That was like in the afternoon, almost 90 degrees. It's still in the morning now. Air is a lot nicer. Like the DA is almost 1,000 feet less than it was that day. So that's the only variable I can't really control at the moment. Everything else is the same. I even have the same amount of gas in the tank, so the weight is essentially the same in the car as well. Aside from the better air today, which will probably give the advantage regardless, I think we still will see a better time with the wastegate actuator. I mean, from just my experience with it on the car in the last couple weeks, I've noticed that the car definitely has a bit more grunt, you know, down in the lower to mid RPMs. It seems boost comes in definitely a little bit better than it did, and a little bit stronger. So I would imagine for the 40 to 80 test, I will see an improvement, because when I start that test, I start it in third gear at about 3,000 RPM, and that's when boost is really going to start coming in. So we'll definitely see if there's a difference there. The other concern I have is I noticed there definitely is more traction issues now, which definitely alludes to more power. The only problem is with traction issues, and when you're trying to do time tests, that might not fare in favor. Unfortunately, I don't have a dyno, so I can't see actual power gained as far as the engine's concerned. The only way I can tell that there's more power is testing how much quicker the car is. And really, that's probably a better way of measuring these kind of tests anyway, because power is great, but how is that power actually helping the vehicle? So that's why I like doing these tests, even though there's more variables involved. I still think it's a better way of doing it, really. Also, on top of the Draggy runs, I'm going to compare a data log as well. I'm going to take a data log while I'm doing the 40 to 80 run and see exactly what everything's doing in the car, and that way I can compare that information to the information I had with the prior runs. Right now I'm about to do my 40 to 80. We'll see how it goes. It feels a hell of a lot quicker. So now I'm about to do 0 to 60. I'm not confident that this is a good test to showcase any beneficial differences. As we all know, 0 to 60 is a traction limited test. I couldn't even brake boost it and take off without it trying to spin. As soon as I let off the brake, the back end was starting to go out, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I think there definitely is probably a little bit more lower end torque there, and trying to get any measurable difference in a 0 to 60 is going to be tough. At least not on a prep surface or with a really good tire on an unprepped surface. So we'll leave that one out of the equation. But what I am curious to know is if brake boosting does build more boost. All right, so let's go ahead and see how much boost we can build. Here's our boost pid right here. Of course, this is in second gear. The most I could build before, about 4 PSI of boost, so. Holy crap. I guess that explains why I was having trouble with traction off the line. 7 PSI of boost, holy crap. Launching with 7 PSI of boost is detrimental to traction. Yeah, it does help build boost for launching. Holy crap. Realistically, I thought maybe if it made a difference, it wouldn't be by almost double. Assuming you can get traction, that's gonna be very good for launching. Not good if you can't get traction because it's just Spin City, as I demonstrated with that 0 to 60. So the moment you've all been waiting for, the results. Interesting results at that. So we're gonna first go ahead and take a look at the draggy results. So I wanna first take a look at this run. So this is the run I did before installing the Turbosmart wastegate actuator. And as we can see here, there is a bit difference, like I said, in DA temperature versus the one I just did today with the Turbosmart. And there is a difference. However, I don't think the difference is related to the better DA, and the data log will pretty much show why that is. But first of all, let's take a look here. And we go ahead and look that it took 5.13 seconds to go from 40 to 80, and a total distance of 474 feet. And just take a nice look at the graph and see what it's doing. Especially towards this side right here. You'll see something very noticeable. All right, you got that in your mind? Now let's go on to the test with the Turbosmart actuator. We did 40 to 80 in 5.08 seconds. So that's a difference of 1/10, which may not seem like a whole lot, but then you look here and it's 471 feet versus 474 feet. If you're in a race scenario, 3 feet is the difference between losing and winning. We're gonna section everything off by one of these blocks. So we're gonna look at each individual block here and interpret the data. So in this first block, you can see how it pulls up really hard, but that's the nature of the factory wastegate, where the boost comes in really snappy, really quick. And then it kinda, levels off, and then it starts dropping right here, and then it just starts fizzling out. It doesn't really hold steady. This bump here is the 3 to 4 shift, and then over here in this cell, you can see how this just kind of goes down. I've determined this has to do with torque converter lockup. Once it gets dragged down, it kind of stays steady towards the end of the run. So likewise, if we go over here and we take a look, in this first block, you can immediately see a difference. How the line holds steady above the median line, which is right here. You see it running through the median line right here. And over here, it starts dipping below that line into the second block. It does that over here, but it holds steady here, then it starts dipping in the second block. And most importantly, by the third block, in this part right here, see how steady that holds? Right there, that section. Now let's look at that same piece over here, and it's dipping. The car is slowing down here, where the car here is maintaining acceleration. And then it dips a little bit, and then levels off like it does over here. So you can clearly see that the car is running stronger, longer through the run, through the duration. It's not losing power. Now with the draggy data out of the way, let's look at the more technical data, and that's comparing the data logs. So once again, left is with the factory wastegate actuator. This red line is RPM, and firstly we're paying attention to this blue line, which is our lambda. So this is to show whether the air fuel is being affected in a dangerous way or not. So once I nail the throttle, lambda comes down here, so we have 0.61. That's rich, baby. That's a lot of fuel. Now going over here, it's the same story. There is absolutely no difference as far as the car is concerned. Same lambda, same curve, same everything, no difference in fueling. The car doesn't care that the wastegate is there as far as fueling is concerned. Now the more important thing is, what about boost? That's the reason why we make these changes, right? What is the boost doing? The boost is doing some interesting things, so I'm gonna show you right now. Here's a run with the factory wastegate. Throttle opens, boost comes in hard, and then it kind of rises a little bit here, right? Then it hits its peak, and then it immediately starts falling, tapers down. And here at peak, our max boost of 22.47, that is the factory limit for boost. Then after the shift, there's a little bit of a spike, and then it starts rising again as more load happens and the car keeps accelerating. Out of this whole run, I want you to focus on this section right here. Now we're gonna look at the same section, but with the Turbosmart wastegate. And here we go. This part is what's impressive, right? So boost starts coming in, comes in here, and then look at that. It just holds at max boost, 22.47 PSI. It just holds there for what? Let me see how many RPM this was. It hits at 4479, and then it holds to 40, almost 5,000. So you have 500 RPMs of just max boost right there. And then it does the same thing, it tapers off, and it follows a very similar curve throughout. But one thing you gotta look at here is throughout the whole run, the boost with the Turbosmart wastegate has maintained a higher, at least by 2, maybe 3 PSI throughout the whole run, higher than with the factory wastegate. So with the factory wastegate, and this would be the lowest of the run, at 12.9 pounds of boost, and over here, the lowest it got is 15 pounds of boost. So that's 3 pounds of boost difference, well, 2 and change difference at the lowest. It's obviously held peak boost more, and everywhere through the curve, it's more boost. So right here at the second peak, we're at 21 pounds. Over here with the factory, second peak, we're at 18. It's just boost everywhere. There's more boost throughout the entire RPM range on the factory tune. The car benefits from that wastegate without a tune, as proven by these data logs, as proven by my draggy runs. There is a difference in power, and it's especially noticeable when you drive in the car. So all in all, yes, there is a positive difference by putting a wastegate actuator on a stock Ecoboost Mustang. And no, you don't need a tune to realize the benefits of it. Sure, with a tune, you'll be able to go above and beyond what the stock part could handle, but there's still benefits to be had even on a stock tune. So that was pretty cool to be able to demonstrate that in this video. But regardless of all of that, I gotta tell you, one of the most biggest and important differences it made is it just made the car a little bit more fun to drive.